recently I read this book called Attached, which is all about attachment style. That'll be in my Amazon storefront if you want to purchase this book. But while I was reading it, I started to realize that it really touched on a lot of myths that we've been told about attachment style in our society. So in this video, I want to address some of those myths, some of the lies that we've been told about attachment style. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Anna Yudin. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology and an author. So if you don't know what attachment style is, let's just briefly summarize what the attachment styles are. And if you've taken my course, the Connection course, you already know about this, but just as a refresher for those that haven't. Attachment style is sort of the predisposition that you have of how you interact with big figures in your life. Attachment style starts with the caregivers when you're a baby, and then it goes on to important friendships in your life. It goes on to role models, to partners, romantic partners. We all sort of have one typical way that we interact with important people in our lives. That's called attachment style. It's the way that we feel and react to attachments to other people. As the theory goes, there are 4 different types of attachment style. There's the secure one, which is ideally what you want to have, and then there are the insecure ones, which are broken down into anxious, avoidant, and what is sometimes called fearful or disorganized. One way that we can think about attachment style is on 2 axes. One axis being our level of anxiety about attachment, and the other axis being our level of avoidance. So if you have low avoidance and low anxiety in your relationships, then you have a secure attachment style. If you have low avoidance and high anxiety, then you have an insecure anxious attachment style, which is when you're very preoccupied with people abandoning you and you really want to make sure that you cling to them so that they don't just leave you hanging. You can also be very avoidant of attachment but have low anxiety, which is called insecure avoidant. So the people that generally try to keep attachment at arm's length, don't want to get too attached to people, don't like when other people get attached to them. But if you have high anxiety and high avoidance, you have something called disorganized or fearful, which is when you have sort of like this push-pull pattern. You do really want relationships, you want strong attachment, but in your actions, you act out in the opposite way, and sometimes you push people away. This is the rarer type of attachment style. I recently heard of another way to also think about attachment style that was interesting, in terms of the 2 axes being your view on yourself as positive or negative, and your view of other people as positive or negative. So in this way of thinking about it, when you're securely attached, you have a positive view of yourself and a positive view of other people's ability to meet your needs. If you're insecure anxiously attached, then you have a negative view of yourself, but a positive view of other people. If you're avoidantly attached, then you have a positive view of yourself and a negative view of other people. And if you're disorganized in your attachment, you have a negative view of both yourself and other people. So that's a quick little intro to attachment style if you're not familiar. But what are some of the lies that you might have been told about attachment style? A big one that we are told in this day and age is that being dependent on someone is equal to being codependent with them, and that being codependent is bad, and therefore being dependent on somebody is bad. For example, there's a big YouTuber that talked about how they broke up with their partner because they felt that they were becoming too dependent on them. And when I heard this, I remember thinking, dependence is inevitable. Dependence is not just something that you can't avoid, but something that should be aspired to in relationships. We're all interdependent with each other. And if you just want to cut somebody off because you feel like you rely on them for things, I'm not altogether sure that's very healthy. In fact, it sounds very avoidant. We live in such a hyper-individualistic society that tells us anytime you need to lean on somebody too much, that's bad, because you should be completely self-sufficient and independent, and you shouldn't need anybody to look after your needs. The truth is that, like I said, not only is that not possible, it's not something we should aspire to. It is inevitable that we rely on each other. Just holding a person's hand during a moment of stress automatically regulates a person. I hear so many American people saying like, oh, couples shouldn't spend all their time together. They need to have their separate friend groups. They need to have separate lives. They need to go on vacation on their own. Why? Why is that something that needs to happen? There is nothing wrong with wanting to spend all your time with your romantic partner, with doing quality things together, with merging each other's friend groups and being friends with each other's friends. Codependency is a term that arose out of the partners of addicts, where a person's addiction was taking a toll on their partner, and their partner wanted to fix the problem more than the addict did. That's very different from just being dependent on each other, wanting to spend time together, actually spending a lot of time together. Very, very different things. You know, like, my husband and I do pretty much everything together. We both work from home. We both engage in the same hobbies together. We share our friends with each other, share our inner worlds with each other. And I know that, if something happens to one of us, it's going to be devastating for the other person. That's just a risk you have to take when you form such a deep connection with another person. It doesn't invalidate the moments of joy that you experienced when you were together. If at 90 years old I am a widow, of course, it would be absolutely devastating. I don't even know if I would survive it. But that would still mean that I got 70 years of pure joy with this person, that I got to form the deepest possible connection with this person. I do think that's worth it. So that is the first myth that you need to absolutely scratch. Dependency is not bad. Dependency is not something to be avoided. Being dependent on other people is natural. If that makes you uncomfortable, you might be avoidant in your attachment style. Myth number 2 is that anxious people need to change their attachment needs. Anxiously attached people are very in touch with the fact that attachment is important and the fact that they want to be attached to other people. That is not unhealthy. That is natural. What can sometimes become unhealthy is when people who are insecurely, anxiously attached act out in ways that aren't productive or aren't effective to getting their attachment needs met. For instance, clinging behavior that's going to just push that person further away. If you're a person with anxious attachment style, don't ever let people make you feel bad about it. Don't ever let people make you think that there's something wrong with you for wanting attachment or commitment or whatever it is. Don't let people make you think that you need to tone down your level of intimacy that you're looking for in a relationship. What you want is healthy. Now, you can definitely work on those more maladaptive patterns of getting that attachment if they don't serve you and they don't serve your relationship, but you don't need to change the fact that you have that need in the first place. Myth number 3 is that avoidant people aren't interested in attachment deep down. We have this image of avoidantly attached people as somebody that does not want relationships at any cost. The truth is that it's a defense mechanism because recent studies show that implicitly, even people who have avoidant attachment style do crave attachment, do want it. What's probably going on is that they're just scared of it getting taken away. Let's say that you're observing a baby, and the baby's mother is not very attuned to him. She doesn't really understand his needs. She's not really able to meet them. The baby can kind of go 2 different ways. The baby can try to cling harder to get her attention, to get those attachment needs met. Or the baby can go the complete opposite direction and say, actually, I don't need my mother. No, I'm perfectly fine without her. I'm not going to respond to her when she tries to take care of me. But do you think that baby deep down actually thinks that? Of course not. We are genetically, evolutionarily programmed to still want that attachment. It's the same with adults. Even when adults say, oh, I don't want attachment to other people, deep down they do. They're just terrified of it getting taken away. They want to be the one in control to say, I'm not going to get too close to you because I know I won't be able to handle it if you reject me. Myth number 4 is that anxious people should be playing hard to get. If you are an insecurely, anxiously attached person, you might have heard people give you advice that you need to just keep people in the dark about how you feel, make it seem like you don't really want attachment, play hard to get, all that sort of stuff. But this doesn't work for a few reasons. The first reason is that it's denying your needs, and whatever denies your natural needs is never healthy. Second reason why it doesn't work is that eventually your need for attachment is gonna pop up because it's natural, and if you are anxious in your attachment style in particular, it's impossible to avoid those needs. And when those needs come up, you might end up in a relationship with somebody who's avoidantly attached, who thought that that was cool with you, and now is realizing that actually you want the exact opposite of what they're able to offer. That person isn't able to meet your needs, and now you have to deal with that for the rest of your life. Instead of playing hard to get, what you should be doing is just speaking frankly with people about what your needs are, effectively communicating. If somebody, for instance, shows up to your date 30 minutes late and you were anxious the whole time wondering like, are they going to stand me up? Are they coming? What's going on? Being hard to get is going to just make it seem like it doesn't bother you. Like they can continue to do that in the future. But if you state your needs right away, if you say, hey, that doesn't work for me, they can either hit the road and you don't have to deal with them anymore, or they can actually try to meet your needs. But they can't meet your needs if they don't know what your needs are. When anxious people let avoidant people take the lead in relationships, it's basically shooting themselves in the foot. It's counterproductive. You shouldn't be worried about scaring people away. You should be worried about attracting the wrong kinds of people that can't meet your needs. And myth number 5 is that butterflies are a sign of love. That when you feel those butterflies in your belly, that's a sign that you really like this person. Anxiously attached people sometimes misinterpret those physical reactions to stress as love, because over time, the more they feel like, oh, I'm not sure if this person likes me, the more those butterflies come up, and the more they start to correlate the butterflies with attachment. But in reality, the butterflies don't signal attachment. The butterflies signal, I'm not sure if this person likes me. So sometimes what can happen after enough of these counterproductive relationships is people with an anxious attachment style, when they meet somebody that is healthy for them, that meets their needs, that doesn't activate their feeling that they're about to get abandoned, they assume that that means, oh, I must not really like this person because I don't really have butterflies. That's not the case. Just because somebody doesn't make you feel insecure in your relationship doesn't mean that it's not a perfectly healthy relationship. In fact, it could very well mean the opposite. So those were 5 myths that we sometimes hear about attachment style. Let me know what you thought about them, or if you have any of your own that I didn't mention in this video, pop them down in the comments and I'll see you soon.